Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the studio and happy Monday and happy new school year. Excited to get to chat with you today. I'm going to double check that all of my technology is working. Okay. Let's make sure that we're live everywhere. It looks like we're live on YouTube. That's good. My external webcam, you guys, is acting up, so I need to order a new one. So I'm on my internal one that's on my laptop, and it's not quite as good a quality. So don't worry, I have one ordered. We'll get it. But this will work just fine for today. So welcome, you guys. This is our very first Monday video of the 2024-25 school year. I hope you're as excited as I am. All the classes start tomorrow. If you're new to us, you're going to be getting a video from me every single Monday. Hopefully you also got a welcome email that explained why does Allison send a video every single Monday. This one's a little different because I don't have any in-progress work to show you. Normally in this video, I will get to pull from class cubbies and show you kind of what we either did last week in classes or where we're at in the projects. You can actually see kind of behind the scenes, but we haven't really started. So I've got some blank journals to show you. We've got a few little props, but not a lot today. We are going to talk through what's happening in those first weeks of classes. I have 2 pages worth of notes. So if I look down, it's because I'm just double checking to make sure that, I don't forget anything. So yeah, if you're catching the recording, you can do the timestamps so that you only watch the part that pertains to your kids' classes. And always make sure that if you do that, you also watch the housekeeping part, okay? Because that's kind of just some notes that pertain to everybody. Sound good? All right, let's dive in. Let's hope the slideshow works. I think it does. All right, here we go. Preschool classes. So these are our fundamentals classes. They're a 90-minute process art class for our preschoolers. You guys are going to meet 3 times a month. You're one of our few classes that don't meet 4 times a month. Just 3 times a month for you guys. Make sure that you know when your classes are meeting, and you can refer back to that welcome email that talks about how to find your class schedule. We're also going to talk about it a little bit in housekeeping at the end of this video. This month's all about dots and circles, and we start our year with one of our favorite books by Herb Tulay. This is a book with a hole, and it literally is a book with a hole in it, and it is an interactive book. It's not a story that goes from start to finish. It is a way to interact with a book. And so we get to put this up and actually do some different drawing with our book or some activities. There's one where you actually throw a baseball or a basketball in it. But so we're going to play with this book this week, right? We'll do a book with a hole. We're going to do a concentric circle art project. And we're going to start looking at the art of Wassily Kandinsky. Now, we'll look at Kandinsky's art just kind of throughout the whole month and hopefully introduce your kids to some famous artists. So that is our plan to start off the month, when we are going to have about 45 minutes of class, 45 minutes of class. The first half will be more directed, more class structure, where we do an arrival, we do a story, we do a journal activity, and then we do a project. The last half of that class, we're going to go into our preschool art room and get to play with creative play stations, which also still pertain to dots and circles. So those stations will stay the same for all 3 classes for the month of September, and then they'll switch out for October when we do lines. Multimedia classes. So if you're in multimedia classes, just a real quick overview of those. Multimedia just means that we're changing our medium every single month. We're going to start with chalk pastels, and then we're going to go to clay, and then we're going to go to ink, and then we're going to go to watercolors. That's our first semester. Second semester, it's acrylics, it's printmaking, it's mixed media, it's fiber arts, and it's metal arts. So every month is a different medium, and every month is a different project. It takes us all 4 classes to get through with the project. So let's talk about what each of the grade levels are doing. So this first is our K through 3rd grade classes. These are our youngest of the multimedia classes. Their art project this month or their media is chalk pastels. Everybody's media is chalk pastels. Their project, and I need to scoot over a little bit, is an abstract shape painting. And when we talk about chalk pastels, a lot of time we refer to them as paintings. So if you hear me say painting, that's why. Inspired by the art of Reginald Laurent. If you want to look him up, you can. The kids will be looking at art by him, as well as some other arts. One of the changes we made to curriculum this year is having a lot more class time dedicated to looking at art and talking about art, not just famous artists, contemporary artists, artists who are like commercial artists or making money right now in the business of making art, and how that pertains to our project. So this week, we're going to spend a lot of time getting to know each other. We're going to introduce the project. They're going to get to decorate the front of their journals. They're going to look at some art and have some discussions, and they're going to practice with the chalk pastels. Our project is big. It's 12 by 18, but we won't actually start it this week. There is a grid worksheet that we're going to do just to introduce the medium and let them play with it. Now, that's generally the format for week one. Every single month is a chance to get everybody in, play with the medium, look at the art, and then talk about the project. But we usually don't start until week two. Our multimedia classes are not the type of class where everybody sits down and follows along with the teacher. And so it's important to us that we have playtime with the medium, because they have to like get used to it. They have to practice with it before they can make art with it. All right, now our 4th and 5th grade and our homeschool classes. Man, I need to make sure I shorten this because my hair's too big. Next week, I'll make sure that the bullet points stay over there. The 4th and 5th grade and the homeschool classes, they follow the same curriculum. So they're going to be doing a koi pond painting. This is a bird's eye view. So from above, viewing down and looking at fish. They're going to, this week, introduce the project. They're going to look at some art. It is different art than what the K-3rds are looking at because their subject is different. So they're going to look at things like Matisse's goldfish painting, or Paul Clay's fish art, or the contemporary art of Cindy Lane, who is an artist based out of Australia who does some chalk pastel and very oceanic type subject matter. So we're going to look at some of that and we're going to talk about it so that they can come up with their own ideas and their own compositions when they make their art. We also have photographs of koi fish, so that way they have a reference. They're not just trying to pull like what a goldfish looks like from their brain. We've got photographs for them to use as a reference. So we'll practice using some chalk pastels. We might do a little brainstorming on composition, but overall, it's just all about kind of introducing ourselves and introducing the projects this week. 6th, 7th, and 8th, 12th for our multimedia classes, also chalk pastels, different subject matter. So they're going to be doing birds. Really excited for this one because it's super wide open. We've got some great art examples of birds that are represented through art in all different styles. So some that are more illustrative, some that are more scientific, some that are more like realistic, like photographic realistic, maybe impressionistic. So lots of different styles for them to look at and decide which one resonates with them, and then to come up with their own composition. One bird, multiple birds, what kind of bird, all kinds of things. And then they'll use that with the chalk pastels. So this first class, we're gonna get our journals out. We're gonna decorate those journals. We're gonna get to know each other. We're gonna look at a whole bunch of different art and talk about it, how we feel about it, what we like about it, what we don't like about it. And we're gonna practice with our chalk pastels and begin brainstorming our composition that we're gonna work on for the entire month. Yeah, take a breath. I left my coffee someplace else, so I can't even like take a breath and drink some coffee, but it's okay. Sometimes I just get on a roll. All right, let's talk about these creationations. With the multimedia people, you guys, I will next week have like hopefully some sketches and there's, oh, I wanted to show you their sketches. These are, hang on, I'm gonna back up just a second. We're talking about multimedia people. These are their journals. These are the ones that they get. Some of you guys already know this because you're like, yeah, Allison, I know. So these are the journals that they get. They live here in the studio and they're just used for brainstorming and note-taking and free drawing. If you finish early, they've got journals to work in. All right, here we go. Let's dive into creative explorations. So our creative explorations class is a little bit of everything. We're going to pull from drawing, we're going to pull from multimedia curriculum, and we're going to pull from even our fundamentals and our preschool curriculums. This is a child-directed class, meaning we set everything up and they come in and do what they want. There are basic rules like taking care of the space, taking care of the supplies, being kind to the kids around them, like being respectful as a community artist, that kind of stuff. But in general, it's all up to them. There's not a teacher in front who is lecturing or kind of steering or guiding. There's no like, guys, we're doing birds this month. What kind of bird are you gonna? Nothing. There's none of that. So this is station-based learning. It's got a little bit of everything. We set it up, it stays the same for the month. So they're gonna have a table where they can explore chalk pastels, which I did bring a box of chalk pastels. For those of you who don't know what chalk pastels look like, you obviously can't see the green ones because I have green screen going on. We are gonna have a table with art history on it, and their art history for the month is the art of Kusama, who is known for her dot art, which is kind of in line with our fundamentals curriculum, which is why we're sticking with that. They've got a journal invitation in the lounge with drawing medium that they can use. They've got a collaborative project, which for us is going to be circle painting tools. They've got water beads, which is a sensory bin, which are also circles. And then we always have still life. So we're going to set up some sort of still life and that they can sit in and work on drawing. And then this time we're going to use oil pastels. All right. All of my drawing classes, we're going to go through each and every one of them. Like I said, so going forward, we will have like things that I can show you that they drew from last week's classes. So usually in the video, I'll say, here's what we did last week, and let me show you their journals. Here's what we're doing next week. Let me tell you about it. I don't have any of that. So I'm just going to tell you what we're going to do. Okay. All right. So this week we're going to be drawing a self-portrait in our 101 classes. It's a lot about the placement of the features. Where do our eyes go? Where do our noses go? Where do our mouths go relative to the face? How big are those different facial features? What are the details in the eye, right? So we've got eyelids and eyelashes and eyebrows, the pupil, the iris, all that stuff, trying to get all those details into the face. And then we're going to add in thought bubbles around, because you are more than just what you look like. You are also the things that you love and the things that you think about. So I'm a big Cubs fan. So if I drew a portrait of myself with my fabulous hair, I might also put a thought bubble with the Cubs logo because they're always on my mind, or with the baseball, or I might draw one with my family. And so I can tell more about myself than just what I look like. So we'll do some thought bubbles on our self-portrait. We're going to start with pencils. But honestly, in this class, we're going to give them the smorgasbord of all the drawing supplies that we have. This class uses a lot. They're going to use pencils. They're going to use erasers. They're going to use charcoal. They're going to use Sumi ink. They're going to use Sharpies. They're going to use washable markers. They're going to use oil pastels. They're going to use chalk pastels. They're going to use colored pencils. So they're going to use a lot of different drawing mediums. So we're going to put them all out this first week so that they can just, gel pens. Gel pens are a fun one. So we'll just let them kind of explore all that different drawing medium through their self-portrait. Now, in Drawing 101 classes, everything they do is in their sketchbook. And this is a 101 sketchbook. Has a few more pages for those of you guys who have done classes with us before. Usually we have 50-page sketchbooks. This year I went with 75-page ones because we were having some of the kids that stay with us for the whole year were running out of pages. So I got a few more pages in there. All of their lessons go in here. And so actually this is the cover. I can tell because it's got a more matte finish on it. It'll have their name at the top. They get to decorate the front. And then when you open it up, it'll have their like lesson here. So their self-portrait that they did. And then on the back, we will put a lesson label. So I'll show you those next week because you'll get to see a finished one. But it's a little quarter-page sheet of paper that says, like September week 1, and then it'll say self-portrait. It'll say what media we used, and it'll say the 3 objectives that we had for that lesson. And that just labels that page. It helps for us when we're trying to identify lessons and maybe look at growth. It helps for you when you are looking at their journals and you want to start a conversation. You've got kind of a jumping off point to be able to ask them about those. So anyway, so you'll always find those on the back of on their drawings. This stays in the studio. It lives here. It does. If you end up with it at home, please bring it back. It stays here. It's not a secret. It's not like, oh, we don't want anyone to know what we're doing in class. That's not it. We don't want to. We've tried bringing them home before, and we don't get them back. So they live here. There's a cubby in the classroom where they live. So they like live with Monday's 5 p.m. class or whatever it is. And then when class is over, the kids can take their journals out to the lobby or even the parking lot. We don't care. And show you what they did in class. So it's never a secret. you can always see what your kid's doing in their journals in class, then this then stays. So there's usually in both studios, there's a box or a bucket or a drop zone where you don't have to go all the way back to the classroom to turn it back in. Just drop it in there, and the instructors will make sure it ends up back into that class cubby for next week. Hopefully that makes sense. So these don't go home. Oh no. My other prop just fell on the ground. Oh well. I'll need that in just a second. Anything else I need to tell you about Drawing 101? I don't think so. And check my notes. Nope, that's it. All right, let's talk about 102, and I'll have to get my things off the floor. Oh, they didn't go very far. That's good. All right, so Drawing 102, realistic, right? We have two versions. We have a realistic and we have an illustrative. The realistic class, your goal is to draw things as realistically as possible. I mean, we're talking like as photoreal as you can get. We're not distorting it. We're not adding, our own signature to it, that kind of thing. So they also work in these books. So this is the same book for them. They are going to start their month with these guys, which, can you see them? They're like 3D forms. So we've got a rectangular prism. This is a cylinder. Here's a cone. Here's a triangular prism. And the light is really blowing out the white, but there's a cube, and then I think the sphere is the one that ran away when I dropped it on the floor. So there's a sphere as well. So these guys here, we've got a couple different sets of them, and this will be the still life that we draw. We're going to use graphite, which is pencil, and we're going to use charcoal, and we're going to there's kind of like two objectives here. One, it's a benchmark cut, right? We really want to see how well you do at representing these. This is a great exercise for scale, right? So scale is when I put this cube next to this prism, right? How much shorter is the cube? That's scale, right? It's relative. Perspective. So that's like, when I look at this prism, I can see the facade. This is hard to do with it reverses this side here and this side here, right? But if I turn it, that changes. And then how do you represent these angles, right? So there's like 1 and 2 point perspective happening there, okay? So that's perspective. There's also value. So if we look at this prism as I hold it here, the brightest side is this one. Okay? And this one here is a little bit darker, and this one here is the darkest. Those are our values. So we've got scale, we've got perspective, we've got values, and that all needs to happen. So we're going to work on those things, and we're going to do it using both graphite and charcoal, which in and of itself has some great learning, because I don't know if you know this, but there are different types of pencils. So we gotta learn about those different types of pencils, and why sometimes you might use a 4H and why sometimes you might use a 6B. And all those different forms of graphite. So we'll learn about that. We'll learn about the different types of charcoal. We're going to dig into charcoal really, really heavily in October when we do our reductive drawings, but that's a great way to start. We will repeat this lesson in April because it's a great benchmark for us, and it helps us to see kind of what the growth was that happened. Okay. Here we go. Next up. All right, illustrative. So this is our newest class, which it previously was comic and cartoon, you guys, and it had been probably 4 years since we've redone this curriculum. So this is something that we worked on over the summer. We've got a brand new curriculum for this. We got a new name. It's called illustrative instead of comic and cartoon. Some of the changes that happened is it broadened, like it got bigger. Comic and cartoon class previously was very narrow focused on characters and human-ish characters. And now we're going much, much broader in terms of like different ways that you use illustrative drawing, right? It doesn't just have to be in terms of characters for a comic book. And so we're going to start with some technical lessons, which is also new. Usually we dove right into like storyboarding. But now we're going to drive right into technique. So we're going to start with line and line weight. So very, very basic. Like, how do you apply a line? What are the characteristics of a line? what are the types of lines you can use, and how do those types of lines influence the way the viewer sees your artwork. So we're going to look at lines. We're going to talk about line weight and how to use line weight, what that communicates in your drawing. We're going to look at some art from other illustrators and how they use line and line weight, and then we're going to practice those skills. Drawing 103 classes. So, oh yeah, I got to show you one more thing with 102. So 102 classes. Oh, and I didn't bring it. Nuts. I don't think so. Nuts. Do I have one sitting around here? I do not. The 102 classes are not going to work. I'll show it to you next week. Are not going to work in journals. So when I showed you 102 realistic and they were working in these, and 101 are working in these, the illustrative kids have a hard time with this. And it's because they're like their most common media that they're using is ink. And they're usually using Sharpies and they're using alcohol ink markers, and they bleed through the papers. And so it's really hard for them to work in this book. So we've got something new we're trying with them. And instead of giving them this, we've bought them folders that they're just white pocket folders with the three brads, prongs, right down the center. And so we're gonna hole punch and insert pages for them so they can work outside of their portfolio, right? Because it's not a sketchbook, and then insert it to keep it there and keep it nice. So they'll still have a collection, essentially this, that they're keeping in the studio. It's just formatted a little bit differently. So that way those ink bleeds don't ooze onto back pages. That's the plan. We also find in this class, a lot of times they have handouts that we've made for them, or references that we've made for them, and things they want to keep. And so that also allows us to hole punch it and put those in the book. So we'll see how it works. That's something new for this year. 103 classes. So this one here, unlike 102s, this class here works for 4 weeks on a project. So they're very similar to what our multimedia classes are doing. They're going to work like all 4 weeks in the month of September to finish a project, as opposed to 102s where every time you come in, it's a different lesson. So 103 Advanced Realistic are being starting right off with a celebrity portrait. They'll get to pick their celebrity, and we're gonna locate that picture, right? So that's this week's first kind of benchmark, is to identify who they want and find a great picture of them. We're gonna turn it into grayscale because it'll be easier for them to work from, and then we'll get that printed so that they can start blocking that out. They're also going to have a mini lesson in types of charcoal and types of pencils, just so that for a lot of times in our 103 classes, the lesson time is really small and the majority is work time, because by the time they get to this level, they've already seen it. They've already heard it. This is just a review, like just a refresher. Let's go over the types of charcoal. Just a refresher. Let's go over the types of pencils. And so just a quick mini lesson for them, and then a lot of work time. My illustrative class, my 103 illustrative, are kicking off their project with an interior room. So they'll have to decide what room that is. Is it I mean, that is wide open. It can be something fantastical, like that they imagine from their brain. It can be, a standard suburban home, but they're going to be drawing a room or a setting. Their mini lesson to kick off the year will be in 1-point and 2-point perspective, which again, for a lot of them, that's going to be a review. But it's something that you should definitely review right before you start a room drawing. That's for sure. Okay, so that's our 103 classes. More than anybody, these guys are the ones that need to take advantage of additional studio time, depending on the pace in which you work. A lot of times they're not slow drawers, they're slow deciders. And so they just don't get off the ground very quickly. They spend a lot of time brainstorming, a lot of time researching, a lot of time sketching before we start. So these are the 2 classes that we really encourage. In the housekeeping, we're going to talk about makeups. Encourage you to make use of that time, even if you don't miss a class. Okay. All right. So housekeeping. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Yeah, because I want to show you something for sure that you need to know where it is. And some of you guys who've been with me for years are like, Allison, you show this every year. I do. All right, so real quick, I'm going to share my screen because I have a noon interview that I need to do. Like, I need to get going. Okay, here we go. This is our homepage of our website. And if I scroll all the way to the bottom of it on any page, it doesn't just have to be the homepage. I went to the homepage. Right under here for current students, it says makeups, class schedules, and more. You can bookmark this page or you can just always find it in the footer. This is where you find your schedule. This is where you sign up for makeups or additional studio time, and then there's a weather policy, okay? There's also some great information about the weekly videos, and then some information about contacting us. But most people are going to use these two, the orange and the red one, most common, okay? The last thing I'll show you before I let you go is there is also a special events tab that you can check out. If you're a studio club member, you get discounts on these, so please make sure that you do that. There's also a like a note, like registration isn't open for the Halloween stuff yet. So I want to make sure that I put when it will open. And then this here, you're going to bookmark your calendar. So we'll talk more about it as we get closer to time. But for those of you who are enrolled in October classes, you are invited to come to our all studio fall party. And we have BYOP, so you decorate your pumpkin. You got to bring your own though. We have hot dogs, we have caramel apples. We're gonna do the chili cook-off this year. Trying to think what else. So it's just a time to come together and enjoy each other's company. So that's coming up. Make sure that you mark your calendar for that. And again, we'll talk more about it as we get closer to time. And there's going to be an RSVP. You have to RSVP or I don't have food for you. And that makes me sad. Okay. All right, guys. I think that's it because I got to get going. I will see everybody. Hopefully some of you I'm going to see in classes this week. But for those of you that I don't, I'll see you soon. And have a wonderful, wonderful first week. I always forget how to end this. Oh, terrible exit, Allison. Where's the link? There it is. I got it. Bye.